Hey guys, Tony here. Welcome back to the channel. It has been about 2.5 months since I have done an update on Hycroft here on the channel, and there's a lot of things happening right now with Hycroft that we need to talk about real quick. If you aren't paying attention, I'm going to catch you up on some of the key facts and bullet points that have been covered by the CEO and the company, and key dates that are coming up for Hycroft. Just to level set everybody on my position on Hycroft, you already know this if you've been watching the channel for the last couple of years. I consider Hycroft a speculative investment. They have no revenue. They are not actively mining. This is not a company that I'm advocating you purchase, but I know many of you are holding it, and I am trying to provide some fact-based coverage to offset both the hate and the relentless pumping that is not really grounded in reality. So let's go through a couple things from the recent Straight Talk video that the CEO Diane Garrett did with investors on video, and go over the corporate presentation that she went through with potential institutional investors in Beaver Creek, and that was on September 12th. I'm going to do this as quickly as I can and just touch on the highlight items that you need to know over the next couple weeks. Let's get right into it. The first and probably most important thing that we need to talk about is the pending delisting for Hycroft. There was this 8K filed back on April 4th, 2023. Hycroft had a 180-day extension for their delisting notice that expires on October 2nd. The company has failed over the last 180 days to regain compliance with the NASDAQ $1 minimum bid. Most of you probably already know that, but October 2nd is just around the corner this coming Monday. There was a recent update from the company, a press release and an 8K filed on September 25th, that they had filed a request for a hearing before the NASDAQ hearings panel to present their plan for what they want to do to get back over $1. That hearing panel will hear the case from Hycroft and decide whether or not they can remain listed or not. In the meantime, while we're waiting for the few weeks for that hearing to happen, the company will remain listed on the NASDAQ. So we have the date of October 2nd looming. However, you can forget about that date, and we don't know the exact date of when the hearing is. Usually they happen in a relatively timely fashion. As soon as that hearing happens, we will know if Hycroft is able to stay on the NASDAQ or if it gets bumped down to the pink sheets. In reality, the company is probably not going to get bumped down to the pink sheets, because in the recent shareholder vote, the shareholders did approve a reverse split option, and if the hearings panel does not approve Hycroft staying listed at the 30-cent range, then they will effect a reverse split to remain on the NASDAQ. If I had to put my money on an outcome right now, I would say the hearing panel is not going to approve Hycroft staying on the NASDAQ unless they immediately implement a reverse split. Stay tuned and we will find out in a matter of days or weeks what the outcome is on that. Let's keep pressing forward with the info. Moving into the Straight Talk video presentation, I'll put a link to it in the video description so you can watch the whole thing. It's about 30 minutes long, and we get to hear Q&A from CEO Diane Garrett and VP of Investor Relations, Fiona Grant-Ledger. So let me run through with you the highlights of the questions that Diane got asked in case you don't want to watch the whole 30-minute presentation. And then we'll talk about the timeline of events, what's going to happen next with Hycroft. She got asked about share intel. What's happening with the investigation into naked short selling? She said they can't share any info on that right now, unfortunately. She got asked about lithium. Is there any lithium on the Hycroft property? And the answer was basically no. She got asked, what about corporate buybacks of stock? How come you haven't announced any? She said, well, we talk about it a lot, but we haven't decided to do any corporate buybacks of stock right now. And as I was reviewing some of the debt covenants with the Eric Sprott agreement and a few of the other ones, I think there's actually some restrictions on the company spending their cash to do corporate stock buybacks. That's something that we need to dig into a little bit further. Maybe, Mr. Sprott's company could make some exceptions, but I wouldn't be pinning your hopes on corporate buybacks of stock just right now. They need to get this delisting, reverse split thing out of the way first. And they have a lot of money that they're going to need to invest at any rate in the future expansion of the mine once they are further down their timeline. She got asked, is Hycroft thinking about being acquired? She said, well, we owe it to our shareholders if we get a good offer to consider it. And if we ever get a good offer, we would consider it if it gives shareholders value. So that is always a possibility, but nothing that she spoke about was sitting ready to happen soon as far as the acquisition. She got asked about the delisting. She spoke on the hearing that's coming up with NASDAQ. We just touched on that a minute ago. She got asked about silver coins, those commemorative Hycroft coins that some of you are buying. Those go for 2x the spot price of silver. Diane Garrett said, I hope that one day we'll be able to sell those coins using our own silver. And just a reminder, the company has no inventory of gold or silver right now. I don't know, they're probably buying these coins from somebody else, and you are not actually contributing to the income of the company buying those coins for 2x the price of silver. I would say, you know, if you want to buy them just for memento, hey, that's certainly your prerogative. But as you know, by looking at the income statement, the company is not generating any income the last 2 quarters, despite all those coins that you're buying. I would save your money until they actually would be helpful to the company. She got asked about the timeline of when Hycroft is going to begin mining again. We know right now that they are in an exploration phase, and then they're going to do a pre-feasibility study, a design study of what kind of milling machines that they need to bring in, how much money that is going to cost. And you can see here that the pre-feasibility and feasibility study and results will be posted in 2024. She told us that late second quarter 2024, so about 9 months from now, we will hear something about the pre-feasibility study and what it's going to cost to get this mine back into operations. Then you can expect that construction, ordering the machines, having them built, getting them installed, is going to take several years. Remember when we started talking about Hycroft a year ago, I told you this is a 5 to 7 year investment, and you need to be very patient with it and wait for a good entry. Adam Aaron also told you that he is expecting 5 to 7 years before his Hycroft investment pays off. If the company is successful in getting all of this done and starts mining again, as long as they don't run out of cash and they are able to get back into mining, that is going to be 5 years from now, guys. So have the right timeline in your head if you're investing in Hycroft. It's easy to hate on Adam Aaron. It's easy to hate on Hycroft if you don't have the timeline correct in your head, because nothing material is going to happen on Hycroft in the short term. Whether they go bankrupt or whether they are successful, we're all going to have to wait several years to find out. Notice this arrow towards the end where it says construction decision. There is going to be a decision, right? What is the price of gold and silver a year from now when they get to that decision point? Is it worth investing the money to build the milling plant and install those milling machines? This is not going to be cheap. Is there going to be a decision made to move forward, or is there going to be a decision made to hold off for right now? I guess we'll find out in a year or so, so stay tuned. I think that, you know, they fully intend to move forward as long as the economics of the project make sense. There have been lots of press releases about core results and things to try and keep investors engaged and excited about this project. But I just want to put this slide up from the company talking about their strategic objectives and talk about one that people gloss over or ignore. The third bullet point on here, you need to be aware of this because the company is telling you, not only in this presentation, but also in the Straight Talk video, Diane Garrett briefly touches on this, that the company needs to improve their capital structure by converting subordinated debt to equity. Let's hear Diane's own words on this topic.
But we also need to address our balance sheet because they would prefer to see a clean balance sheet without the amount of debt that we have. So that's one of our strategic objectives for the year.
When we look at the most recent balance sheet, you can see the company has $117 million in cash and cash equivalents. Long-term debt, they have $137 million. As far as current assets versus current liabilities, they're in fine shape. $126 million in current assets versus $6.9 million in current liabilities. So no immediate risk of bankruptcy, far from it. But we do need to be mindful of that long-term debt if you're invested in or thinking about investing in Hycroft Mine. 2027, we have $146 million coming due in long-term debt. And as the company told you in their strategic objectives, they are looking at ways to get that off the balance sheet by converting it to equity. That means diluting common stockholders by trading that debt for equity, common stock, or setting up some new type of share arrangement where the lenders get a future, maybe a preferred convertible share. Don't really know yet what they are going to propose, but it's something you need to be aware of. When we look on Dilution Tracker, you can see they have the dilution risk for Hycroft as high. I do also. The current outstanding shares down here, the dark blue bars, around 200 million, but the potential dilution based on filings that they have in place is an additional 1.2 billion shares. And they're going to use some of that potential dilution to, apparently, according to their strategic objectives, fix the balance sheet. And we also know they're going to need to do a huge investment to build the milling operation. So whether you're currently invested in Hycroft, whether you're trying to average down, or whether you're thinking about doing a future potential investment in Hycroft, I want you to be cognizant of this dilution risk. You are now all caught up with what is going on with Hycroft. I guess we'll find out in the coming weeks what happens with their listing status on NASDAQ and if that reverse split has to go through or not. As far as the company itself, and is it going to be successful or not? Did AMC make a good investment in Hycroft or not? Guys, we are years away from being able to make any sort of analysis on that. Until the pre-feasibility study is done, until the company gets back into production, I think you're just going to be sitting on your hands for a while, watching Hycroft and keeping your fingers crossed, and all of us hope for the best. I am Tony Denaro. Leave me your questions or comments down below, and I will see ya on the next video.